Today with a high of 70 to 72, then mainly clear tonight, low 53 to 61. Tuesday and Wednesday both will be partly sunny. Nice days, high Tuesday 74 to 76, high on Wednesday 76 to 78. Then mostly sunny Thursday and Friday, high Thursday 80 to 83, Friday 81 to 80.
The Ocala Golf Club, one of Ocala's premier golf courses, from its pristine 18-hole course layout to its amazing pro shop. Jason Linhart and the staff at Ocala Golf offer everything that you need for your golf outing. That's the Ocala Golf Club. Experience country club style golf at municipal prices. You won't go wrong with the Ocala Golf Club. Call them for a tee time today, 352-401-6917.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks, hour number 2 on a Monday, March 8, 2021. We have in studio with us Battalion Chief Clayton Anderson and Captain Anthony Ortiz, although every time I look and say Captain Anthony Ortiz, because Anthony's just much more accomplished than me, and it impresses me. It just does. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, Tom. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Olivia's texting me right now. Say more good things about my husband or else.
It's not what she would be texting you.
No, promise you. She'd be like, really? You're making me sick with all that. Gentlemen, good morning. Fire prevention, something that people think about. When I think about fire prevention, and this is why I'm bad at it, why I'm glad you're in the room. When I think about fire prevention, first thing comes to mind is my Christmas tree. Other than that, I don't think about it.
Really?
And that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most people don't like. I know in the springtime that I should change the batteries in my carbon detector and my smoke detector. I would lie to you if I said I did every spring, but I should. I know that.
Yeah.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Every
6 months is when you need to change them. When time changes.
So is that is that what you suggest? Is when time changes? So what happens when daylight saving time goes away with a dumb, meathead like me? You set me up a mnemonic like that.
We're going to have to come on here twice a year and remind everybody.
A lot of detectors now are going to 10-year batteries, so they're good for 10 years. So
when we talk about fire prevention, though, we're not just talking about fire extinguishers. We're not talking about fire detectors. Give us an overview, if you would, of fire prevention.
Go ahead, Captain Ortiz.
Well, I guess day in, day out, what we do is really work with the businesses in the Ocala community, and we do fire inspections, and during those inspections, we check all of the fire protection systems that they have inside the building, make sure they're getting maintained like they should. Fire extinguishers are getting maintained, and fire alarms. And we also deal a lot with new construction. So during the new construction phase of any building that goes in the city, we're right there the whole time making sure that the equipment that they're putting in is appropriate and that it's going to work when we need it for a fire.
When you think of fire prevention, is it one of those things that the average person probably doesn't think about it till they need it, and then it's probably too late to think, oh, is that fire extinguisher going to work?
Yeah, I think so, but I think that's kind of where we come in. So we're there thinking about it, day in and day out, and making sure everything's going to work so the average citizen doesn't have to be concerned with it.
And you think about some of the things you guys oversee, just evacuation plans.
Yeah.
People think that little sign hanging next to an elevator or something is just there for artwork.
Right.
But if a building's filling up with smoke, you need to know which direction is the quickest way out of the building. And I know that y'all require those in every building. Before they can get a certificate of occupancy and everything, they have to have a fire evacuation plan, hurricane evacuation plan, all kind of different things like that. Plus, you got to have exit signs lit up. There's a lot more that goes into it than just a fire hydrant.
Sure.
Just a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, and we're looking at that every year. There are things that change, and we make sure that they update it in their plan. And we're also there when they practice it, so we can meet with the facility, go through the whole process of evacuation or anything like that. And then if we find any gaps in the plan, we identifying.
Do you guys use the resources of the entire country and fires? I mean, is it something fire departments talk about, fires and how they react and everything, and new buildings and stuff, so that it's something that you have that changes on a yearly basis, so there are different techniques that are helped to improve every year?
Yeah, sure. Constantly, we're reading new studies that come out. We're watching the news, seeing fires that come out. Just here in Ocala, when the Amazon distribution center was going in, we were pretty, working in that building a lot, checking the sprinkler system and stuff. And that was when Amazon had a fire on the other side of the country. And those conversations came up, and we wanted to.
Of course.
We wanted to identify, like, hey, what happened there, and make sure that doesn't happen here in our community.
What are some, if you were going to talk about vulnerable spots that you make sure and I know you do your due diligence with everything, but vulnerable spots. I was in the restaurant industry for a very long time, and I know that there are some places that their Ansel system and their overhead hoods and all are fire hazards, because when grease collects and they don't clean it properly, you're just begging for a flame to get up in that grease and just set the whole place on fire. Is that it? Are y'all part of that monthly? I know the health inspector goes in, but do y'all go in on not maybe a monthly basis, but a regular basis, checking those kind of things as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call those target hazards, and those are like your hospitals where you have high occupancy loads, and then cooking fires are the number one cause of fires in the nation, and that's the same here in Ocala. So with kitchens, we're getting in there at least once a year, making sure that their hood system is being maintained, and that their suppression system under the hood is good, that the grease isn't building up. We're checking on their appliances, making sure the appliances aren't building up a ton of grease, and just really working with them. And we're a resource for anytime they need any questions or anything, they can always call us.
Now, commercial fires are part of your job, but residential fires I would think are probably a larger part of your job, because there's more residences than there are commercial buildings.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that I could do as a homeowner or as a renter of an apartment or something? What are some of the basic things I could do to make sure I survive if I had the tragedy of a fire?
Yeah, I think our smoke alarm program is a really good example of that, right, Chief?
Absolutely.
Is that SAFE? Is that the SAFE program?
Yes, sir.
What's SAFE? What's that program?
Yeah, so if a citizen in the city needs a smoke alarm, they can contact us, and we bring them out to the home. We'll install them. We'll also evaluate the smoke alarms that they have inside their home. There's national recommendations on where smoke alarms should go. So sometimes we'll go into a home and they'll have like one smoke alarm that's been there for 20 years. We'll replace those, and we'll give them recommendations. Now, smoke alarms should be in every sleeping area. They should be outside of the sleeping area. You should shut your door when you go to sleep. That's a big push that NFPA has been putting out, is close your door.
Why is it important to close your door when you're sleeping?
Yeah, so we've seen it before during fire investigations, but just having a closed door really creates that barrier between the smoke or the fire area and the area where you're sleeping in. So by having that door shut, it really protects you while you're sleeping from a fire that happens on the other side of the house.
Even though smoke may filter in under the door, it still creates a barrier. It's still a closed door instead of an open, gaping area that smoke. Because if I remember my school training and everything, when I was in elementary school, 95% of all people killed in fires, the fire is not what kills them. It's the smoke that kills them long before the fire gets to them.
Absolutely, and that's why we push the smoke alarms so much, and that's why we want to have a working smoke alarm in every home in the city. We're doing a canvas, neighborhood canvas, coming up on the 20th of this month, and we've got this geographical location in the city, and we're just going to hit door to door to door.
Knock on doors.
Just knock on doors and see if they have working smoke alarms, and if they don't, there you go, and we'll put it in there.
A lot of families that may not know the proper things they need to do to plan for, because commercial buildings have evacuation plans, commercial buildings have sprinklers, commercial buildings have the necessary things. Sometimes residential homes, all they have is a smoke alarm.
Yeah.
Can people call the fire department, or do you guys offer classes and seminars that will help a homeowner or a family come up with a good plan of how to react during a fire?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a home inspection program is what we call it. And we'll meet, and a lot of times it starts with the smoke alarm conversation. And then after that, we'll kind of look in the kitchen area, and we'll identify any areas of hazard where they're storing things maybe inappropriately and don't even realize it. And we'll work with them to do it the right way and go through. We can work on an exit plan for the home. And I recently did that with my daughter. She's 10, and it was great. We drew it out. She drew the house out, and she identified 2 ways to get out of her home or out of the house in a fire. And it was funny because I asked her, I was like, "What do you do if there's a fire in the house?" She looked at me and seriously, she's like, "Stop, drop, and roll." It's like, no. So even us that we do this every day, and there's still areas to improve. So it's definitely something we would.
Well, she had it right if she was on fire, but not if the house was on fire.
I know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
The shenanigans in me say by helping your daughter with that, you've helped her plan a way that she can sneak out when she's 16.
I got a plan for that.
I'm sure you do. But when I tell you, one of the main things, I have a friend of mine who works for the Moultrie Fire Department. He's a former college roommate. He's Captain Braswell with the Moultrie Fire Department. And he came to visit me one time. He had been in the fire service for about 5 years when he come to visit me one time. And he's in my kitchen. He goes, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I go, "What?" And we were frying some country fried steak up, had the grease on the stove and everything. He goes, "Why would you have that half-gallon plastic bottle of vodka right next to the stove?" And I go, "Because that's where it sits so we can get ice." And he goes, No. What if that bottle melts and that vodka pours onto that grease or the stove or something?
Oh, yeah.
That's gasoline.
Yeah.
And I was living in a mobile home at the time. He goes, "Do you know how fast this thing would go up? Through no fault of yours, except you put a plastic bottle next to a hot stove."
Sure.
And I don't think, and that's just not vodka, but grease can do, a plastic bottle of Wesson oil next to the stove.
Yeah.
These are things that the normal person doesn't think about, I don't think.
Right.
During our home inspection, we look at a lot of that, how people store things. We look at a lot of our fires seem to be overloaded extension cords or pulling too much power from a 110.
Yeah.
And so we look at the extension cords, how they're powering, if they're pulling too much power. And so the home inspection program is we have a checklist that we go through with the homeowner and look at all the possible fire hazards that they have and try to make corrections with them.
You bring up a good point. I think we get sometimes caught up in the safety of, it's in a power strip, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Power strip's good if it's grounded so that it doesn't, but so when the lightning hits the house or something, or the lights go out with a power surge, it doesn't fry your electronics.
Yeah.
But you got 8 different electronics plugged into one power cord strip that's, 2 blow dryers, a hair heating thing, a microwave, and a coffee pot. You might have a fire hazard.
That's it. I like a lot of the older homes too. The wiring gets old and they were really never designed for that type of load. Everything that we have now is plugged in. Think about all the chargers and everything gets plugged in. And I don't think those old houses were really designed for that type of load. So that's another area we identify in home inspections.
Speaking of everything being plugged in,
yeah,
I know there was a movement at one time, and it made no sense to me. And I'm not a home builder, I'm not a fireman, but it made no sense to me. People say, "Oh, these homes already come equipped with fire protocols in place. The fire alarms are built into the house." Mm-hmm. But they were built in and wired to the electrical grid of the house. How the hell is that any good if the lights go out?
Yeah. So they have battery backups in them.
Oh, they do? Okay.
They do.
See,
yeah. So the really good ones are interconnected like you're talking about, and they're powered from the house power. But then when the power drops, that battery kicks in. And that's why we try to get you to change that battery every
You're not helping me, Anthony. I was trying to come up with a reason to tell my fiance we definitely had to get a generator.
Yeah. No, you definitely do. You definitely do.
So on the other side of this, though, once a fire takes place and you go in, is every fire investigated or just the ones that you deem suspicious? Or is every fire investigated to see whether it's suspicious or it's just a mistake that was made?
Well, we want to know what the cause of every fire is. And part of that is to determine if, something was done that was illegal so that we can go that route, but also we want to eliminate that from happening again.
The overloaded power strips and the space heater too close to the couch and stuff like that.
Right. We want to learn from each fire so that it doesn't happen again, and then we can educate the public on, platforms like this and with our social media and stuff.
Do the winter times in Florida, because people aren't prepared, like this winter especially, because it was colder than normal, do they present special, different problems for the fire department?
Yeah, absolutely. We see a lot more heater use. The standalone heaters, they come with their own safety risks, especially if they're too close to something that's combustible. And then you get into extension cords again, trying to bring heaters into the rooms. And, it also, first time you kick on your heat in the house, a lot of times that'll, burn off the coils, the dust on the coils, and that gets everybody panicking. So we run a lot more calls during that time.
I'm looking at this list you gave me of things that you wanted to talk about, and the inspection we've been talking about, but I didn't even think about this. The hazardous materials, they're just in the garage. The garage is made of block. It's fine. I mean, but that's the attitude you're trying to change.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
It's not. But, people keep their gas cans and their paint cans and everything kind of haphazardly, unless you're a neat freak.
Right.
You just put them where they happen to land in the garage.
Sure.
And those fumes and all, people think sometimes fire is all about the flames, but fumes have a lot to do with how people get sick and people get ill, people die, just as much as the fire itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the volume of fuel that people will go collect if hurricanes come in, they're like, oh, I got to get prepared. So they'll go out and they'll fill up every container they got, even if it's not a gas container, and leave it right there in their garage. Also, after the hurricanes, we usually do a neighborhood canvassing sweep just to, do some damage reports, and we'll find where people have their generators inside of their garage, just, basic things like that folks just don't think about, and, that's kind of where we come in.
Is there a place people can go if they're worried about that, where they can schedule an in-home inspection?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They can go to our website, and it's linked with our smoke detector program, and they can send us a formal request, and we'll come out and do a free home inspection for them.
Anybody inside the city limits?
Anybody inside
Doesn't
the
matter your
limits.
socioeconomic, nothing is. If you're inside the city limits and you want a fire inspection or a fire plan or a discussion with you guys, you guys are more than willing to come out and do it.
Yeah, you should experience it, Tom. Let me come
I
by
live
the
in the
house.
county.
We'll do it. It's all
I live
right.
in the county.
It's all right.
I live in the county. Besides, my dogs make sure that my sheetrock is not flammable because they chew holes in it. For
Oh, is that
anxiety.
right?
Yeah. It's not, but we have some power strips that got 4 or 5 things plugged in. What's the good? Because the power strip will have 8 plugs in it. Mm-hmm. Is there a rule of thumb? Is all 8 of those safe to use, or should you just put 2 or 3 things into it, or does it really matter on the volts and the amps of everything that you got plugged in there?
Yeah, they're designed for a certain load, and usually you got to go by the manufacturer's recommendation, and it comes with paperwork. So if you read that nobody reads, and then it's also on the back of it. But the big thing with power strips that we find, the biggest problem with power strips is when they start going daisy chaining them. So you'll have one power strip plugged into another power strip to another power strip, and then you're really
look. Yeah. I've when in the fraternity when I was in college, we would take a power strip, plug it in the wall, then take 3 25-foot extension cords, plug them into the power strip,
sure,
and then send them out in different directions of the fraternity house, to then plug in power strips into those cords.
We see it all the time in residential homes, and it's all still coming from the 110 outlet, and it's overloading them outlets and it's causing fires.
And that's why when you touch that power strip, it's hot. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll grab the power strip and go, son of a.
Yeah.
And that's the heat that could cause, because fire has to have heat.
Right.
Has to have 2 things: heat and oxygen to create.
Right.
If your house is open, you got oxygen, and if you get enough heat, anything would catch on fire.
Yeah, that's one of the big things we look for when we're doing our fire investigations after the fire, is we got to find what that heat source was. What actually caused this event to happen, and the big thing is finding that heat source. So
a lot of people throw clothes on top of the extension cords. They'll run them under rugs, and all that just builds heat, and over time can definitely cause a fire.
How important is your laundry room maintenance to fire prevention in a residential home?
Yeah, the big one is that dryer vent. So keeping that dryer vent clear, it'll make your dryer run more efficiently, but then also get that buildup of the lint inside there, and we've got a lot of fires that start right there.
I had an older dryer in the condominium I lived in. I had an older dryer, and the belt snapped. Mm-hmm. His dryer's 12 years old, 10 years old, something. The belt snapped. So the dryer guy comes out, and he's going to fix the belt, and an $89 little call and everything. And he goes, how often do you clean your lint filter? Now, I'm a lint filter Nazi. I think it needs to be cleaned after every load that goes in the dryer. It needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
My fiance, about every 3 loads, she cleans it. But
Okay.
I think after every load, because I know living in the North Carolina mountains, the way we started fires in the stove was we'd go get the dryer lint, collect it, and use it as the combustible to start a wood fire in the wood burning stove. Nothing burns better or hotter than dryer lint.
Right.
So that's what we started fires with. So I'm a Nazi about cleaning that dryer vent.
Sure.
He gets inside my dryer because it was an older dryer that's probably, shook loose some pieces, here and there, openings occurred. He pulled out almost a basketball size amount of lint from inside the dryer cavity, not just in the, and he goes, when was the last time you had this dryer serviced and maintenance? I go, huh?
Yeah.
He goes, this is 12 years of buildup, I guess. Wow. And do you know that every time you turn that dryer on, you were lucky that it didn't catch on fire.
Sure.
And I didn't think about that. I cleaned the dryer vent. That's what I'm supposed to clean. The metal hose that went out, I would unhook it every 6 months and take it outside and run a mop stick down it to get the lint out of that.
Yeah.
I didn't think that there would be a basketball size amount of lint inside the body of the dryer.
Yeah.
He said you should have your dryer looked at least once every year, 18 months, to have maintenance done on it and cleaned out.
Yeah.
Is that a suggestion you concur with?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Because there's a lot of unforeseen stuff that happens inside of the dryer, and same thing. They've got them now where they vent out of the top of the house. I know you've probably seen those. They kind of come out of the dryer.
Makes no sense to me.
No,
That
comes
makes
out of the
zero
dryer,
sense
shoots
to me.
out the top. Yeah. So
Up into the attic where it's already hot because heat rises. Let's just go ahead and fill some more heat going through a pipe up there.
Yeah. They got companies that'll come out. They'll do your chimney sweep is what the companies are. They'll clean all that out and then, get behind the dryer and really get it cleaned out. And that, you were talking about smoke earlier. The type of smoke that'll come just from a dryer fire is quite a bit. So those are some serious hazards with any of your appliances.
Do you find that families with children take fire prevention a little more serious than non-children families? Or, like my fiance and I, we have our dogs and everything, but, we don't really think about an evacuation plan. Or I know how to get out. If a fire breaks out, as long as it's not in our bedroom, we're going out one of the windows or the French doors of our bedroom. And I'm big enough where the chair that sits, we have a lounge chair that sits in our bedroom. It's going through a window, no problem. So we will be able, as long as the fire's not in our room, we would be able to escape.
Sure.
But there's no plan. But if I'm in the other end of the house in the restroom in the middle of the night and a fire breaks out in the kitchen that separates me from my fiance, I got no plan on how to get her to safety, how to get me to safety. Mm-hmm. And I think we don't think about it because we don't have kids.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's easier. It's an easier conversation when you have kids, right? Because you can say, okay, today's fire safety day. We're going to sit down. We're going to do all that stuff. But as adults, like you said, you don't really think about it. But, I mean, it not only does it help, you and your family in the house, but it also helps us when we respond to the emergency. When we show up, if you have a centralized meeting spot that everybody's going to be at, when we get there, that's the first thing we want to know is everybody out
inside,
of the house? Yeah. Exactly. And that will change our tactics a little bit there. And,
I watched Chicago Fire. I know how it works.
There you go. So exactly.
Fire department, call out. I know how it works.
Yeah. So that information is great for us. But also, if you, like you said, you have some dogs in the home, this is the type of information that before we just had no access to. But because of a new program that we have that's called Community Connect, you can log on to that and you can provide that information. It's almost like a pre-plan. So we've been doing pre-plans for commercial buildings for years. So I can tell you
that at my house, at my address, there's 2 adults, 4 dogs, and a cat that live there.
That's right.
And then going into it, you're not going into the situation blind. You have an idea of what you're going to have to try to rescue, if anything, when you get to the fire.
That's right. Yeah, our battalion chiefs, when they get on scene, the incident commander will be able to bring that up and look and say, okay, they've got dogs here, they've got oxygen in the home, their power's coming in the backside. This is all information that you can provide to us before the fire, and that is valuable.
Yeah,
very valuable to us.
I didn't think about my mother. Before she passed the COPD, she had oxygen canisters all over her house, and nobody ever told the fire department there was oxygen canisters, and that's a bomb waiting to go off, those oxygen canisters.
Yeah.
Tell people how they can find out more information about this again as we wrap up this conversation. If they want to have you come in and give them some fire prevention tips, where can they go to get involved?
Easiest place to start is our website. and that's the cityofocala.org website. There'll be a button there. You can click on that. Takes you to the fire department, and all of the programs that we talked about today can link you right to it, and that contacts us directly. So that's the best place to start.
We've been talking with Battalion Chief Clayton Anderson and Captain Anthony Ortiz. Guys, thanks so much for giving me some tips. I didn't think about our power strips until you said extension cords are a big thing.
Yeah.
And we're an extension cord world. Just look at the lines going from the big power poles to our house. That's nothing but just a big extension cord.
That's right, yeah.
Thanks so much, guys, for coming in.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you for your time.
We'll be right back after this short timeout. You're listening to WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Thousands of protesters marched through Minneapolis streets Sunday, urging justice for George Floyd on the eve of the start of the former police officer Derek Chauvin's trial over the 46-year-old's death. Mr. Chauvin claims George Floyd died of a drug overdose after videos show Mr. Floyd having packets of drugs in his mouth as he was being arrested. Jury selection procedures begin Monday. Afghanistan's Tolo News reported Sunday Secretary of State Anthony Blinken proposed in a letter to President Ashraf Ghani steps including a UN-facilitated summit to revive stalled peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban. Blinken expressed concerns of a potential spring offensive by the Taliban and that the security situation may worsen, and the Taliban could make rapid territorial gain after an American withdrawal. There will be 9 Major League Baseball spring training games Monday. The early game started at 1:05 p.m. Eastern with the Mets versus the Nationals and the Marlins versus the Cardinals going at it. USA Radio News.
Rockstar Radio. Did you know this station, this network, is looking for their next rock star broadcaster? That's right, we are. And it could be you. It could be you interviewing the guests, talking to the newsmakers right in the middle of everything. Have you ever dreamed of being a rock star show host? Now could be your chance. Together with this station, we'll help you with everything you need. The studios, the equipment, your own producer, a co-host if you'd like, and so much more. Broadcasting is changing. There's never been a need for fresh voices and unique opinions like there is right now. You can do this. Our professional team will guide you every step of the way. Sound effects, show content, building your social network media, and everything you need to be the next rockstar broadcaster. Get all the details. Email bill@rockstar.today. That's bill@rockstar.today. To get started with your own show, email bill@rockstar.today. That's bill@rockstar.today. Don't wait. You could be the next voice for America. Email bill@rockstar.today.
Says social media companies make all their money? Well, by tracking your searches, video history, and everything you click on, and then by selling your valuable data. But you don't have to give the big tech companies access to your data. That's why we choose to protect online activity by using ExpressVPN. When you use ExpressVPN, you anonymize much of your online presence by hiding your IP address. That makes your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. What's more, ExpressVPN encrypts 100% of your data to protect you from eavesdroppers on your network, and the ExpressVPN app couldn't be easier to use. Just tap one button on your phone or computer, and you're protected. Take back your online privacy with the VPN that we trust at expressvpn.com/Bubba. By visiting our link, you get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN service for free on a 1-year package. Go to expressvpn.com/Bubba. expressvpn.com/Bubba.
Attention passengers for Flight 1370. The plane has been delayed at its departure point and will be at least 2 hours late. We apologize for any inconvenience.
Are you serious? It took us over an hour to get here, 2 hours going through security and getting our tickets, and now we have to wait another 2 hours.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, but we're inside this overcrowded airport all day because the plane is stuck in bad weather.
This is the last time we ever do this. When we get back, we're going to Ocala Aviation and getting our pilot's license.
Yeah, we've been talking about that long enough. It's about time we did it. Then we could just fly ourselves and never have to deal with this mess again.
Right. No long lines, no full body groping security, no baggage checks.
Not to mention never losing your luggage. Remind me again why we haven't done that?
Well, we're idiots.
Oh, right.
Attention all passengers for Flight 1370. It looks like the plane is going to be delayed a little bit longer. The airline has lost the pilot's luggage. Isn't it time you got your pilot's license? Call Ocala Aviation today. 352-861-7484. That's 352-861-7484. Hey, you've earned it. Call today.
Think you know Dex Imaging? Think again. In the office, streamlining communications. In the field, delivering top-notch service, enhancing productivity, and reducing downtime. In the data center, a part of the growing digital document revolution. In the world of business, supporting entrepreneurs and